Mayor Ricky Estrada, how are you today?
Good morning, Rex. I'm very good. I'm happy I'm here with you, and I'm happy to make myself available for you and the residents and the region and answering all your questions.
For sure. I know you're a busy man. I really appreciate your time. Any time that you bless with is a blessing in itself.
That's a blessing to be here with you.
I appreciate it. So what's been up? What's on your mind? What's on your mind lately?
There's a lot going on in the city of Menifee. We're one of the fastest growing cities in California, if you don't count LA and San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
The rankings always change, whether we're 3 or 5 or 7, but even in America, we're, top 15 in growing. And so there's just so much potential and so much opportunity. And I'm hoping the next couple years as mayor, I can push economic development and give our residents a lot more entertainment, amenities for all the families moving in.
That's awesome. You said top 15?
Yes, in America.
In America?
Mm-hmm.
That's wild to think that's right next door. I didn't think, I got friends that grew up out here in Menifee. I can't remember if he said it was right after the 215 was developed or shortly before that. But Menifee was not what it is today. Yeah. Not even close. So,
totally different.
It's completely different. I mean, we have a city center now, multiple libraries, they were gracious enough to let us host us here today. Where did you grow up? Did you grow up out here?
I was born in Pasadena.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I went to college at UC San Diego, and then when I finished college, I moved to Menifee.
Okay.
And Menifee was known for more opportunities, the available land, affordability, and that's what drove me to Menifee.
No kidding. Okay, so after you graduated college, you moved out here. Was you're a serviceman yourself?
Yes.
Right. Air Force?
Air Force. Yes, I'm in the Air Force Reserves.
What made you want to join the Air Force? What was the calling to that?
I always wanted to, and just anything that I do, I try to stay grounded in what God wants for us and as a world, as a society, just serving others, protecting the weak, the fatherless, and it's fulfilling to be a public servant, to serve the country. Part of it was, living up to God's expectations. Mm-hmm. One part of it was being proud to be an American, and part of it too was the home loan, the student benefits, all of those things combined made me want to serve.
Yeah, it used to be a big selling point with the military. You get your GI Bill, healthcare. What else? Help me out here. Tuition assistance while you're going. Like you said, your healthcare is a big one. Things are changing nowadays. Yeah. With people coming into the armed services, it's a 401k now instead of like a retirement after 20 years.
Yeah, they changed the retirement system. They offer now where you can contribute into
exactly
an account.
And I think, honestly, if I'm speaking freely, I think they should go back to the other one. They're having almost a crisis right now with people joining the military. I want to say they're like 30 to 40,000 short at the moment. But that was a big selling point for me as well. The school, the healthcare, and my parents were like, "Hey, you need to get out." Yeah. So you're 18, you got to do something. You either need to work or join the military, and that's what I did. So, I got a couple questions here. Yeah. We'll mix them in as we go. First one was what key accomplishments do you aim to achieve by the end of your first term as mayor? Because this is your first term, right? And what are some of the obstacles on that path that you see?
So I would say Menifee, as you know, we're growing. We have all the houses coming in. We have all of the developments coming in. But when I ran for mayor, a lot of the residents said, "Hey, something's missing. Something in Menifee is missing. We have the potential. We have all the growth, but where do we go? We're here now. Mm-hmm. Menifee doesn't have a downtown. Menifee doesn't have an old town. Menifee also is a newer city, so keep that in mind. We haven't had the chance to establish that. We were established in 2008 when some of our neighbors like Paris, Lake Elsinore, they've been around for over 100, 100 years, decades.
Yeah.
And they've had a chance to establish that. So I want to bring more economic development, more amenities for our residents. We have more residents than Temecula and Marietta.
Really?
Yes,
That's
we're at around
wild.
120,000, and we're projected over the next 20 years to reach 150,000.
Wow, that's a lot of growth.
And so we need these amenities. We need the entertainment. We want people to spend their money here. And when they do that, that helps provide more police services, fire services, making sure the roads are maintained and taken care of. So we don't want to be stuck in just a housing, known for being a housing boom. We need a unique identity. And actually, in a couple of weeks here, we're going to be having a workshop at City Hall where all the city council is going to be talking about what is Unique's identity, what is our vision forward, how do we stand out with our competitors in the region.
Yeah. Speaking of the downtown thing, I know Temecula has a really nice old town downtown area. It's always super popular. That brings a lot of revenue for businesses, a lot of tax revenue, obviously, to grow the city better. What do you envision for like downtown? I know there was it the movie theater that they ended up? What's the deal, man? 'Cause I know people ask, man. People ask.
What happened with the movie theater? So the movie theater is owned by a private owner, and so the city has no jurisdiction or discretion on what is built on that. That is up to the private owner, and just like any other plot of land that is owned by someone privately, they have the discretion on what they want there, you know. But when it comes to what does the Menifee downtown look like, we are open to any investor who wants to come to Menifee.
Sure.
And we want them to provide a layout and something special for our residents that makes us stand out. We have a few economic development corridors in our city, especially along Newport and the 215.
What do you mean corridors? Like areas that you would like to see development happen?
Yeah, that are zoned specifically for commercial and economic development, not for residential or parks or anything, but it's zoned specifically for economic development and all of that.
That makes sense.
It could be, and in the layout all along Ethonac we have economic development corridors, a little bit on McCall, down Hahn and Newport, down Scott Road, along the freeway frontage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Easy to see from the highway. People drive by, see a sign, and they pull off more or less, I think.
Yeah. And when the kids are telling Mom and Dad, let's pull off over there.
Sure.
That's good freeway frontage and exposure for our businesses. But we are always looking and welcoming to any investor who wants to come and develop here and bring something special. And, I as mayor have directed staff to say, hey, be open-minded, be creative. If someone wants to bring a unique plan, a unique layout, with water fountains and walkability and nice architecture, and give residents a reason to stay here and enjoy the entertainment here, let's be accommodating for that.
Absolutely. What would you like to see down there? What does your vision see?
I think something with walkability, like any old town or downtown.
Sure.
You go from one restaurant to the next, or you can bar hop, or if you just want to have an ice cream with your family, and there's a nice water fountain, and you can just lay out a blanket, something like that, where we can be proud of where we are in the moment.
Yeah. How do you make that unique to Menifee? What is like Temecula feels like Old Town Temecula. When you go down there, there's the little cowboy place down there. I forget the name of it. There's like winery type stuff. What would be unique to Menifee in downtown? How would you envision that being like unique to Menifee?
So, that is a discussion I want all of the residents to partake in as well.
Yeah.
And as mayor, I want the residents to be happy. I think some of the things I previously mentioned, walkability and some unique architecture.
Local artists, maybe something like that.
Yeah. And some of the terms we use at City Hall is, placemakers. Placemakers means when you're in a distinct location, and everyone else knows exactly where you're at, and what the symbolism behind where you at. Like, I'll just choose the Eiffel Tower.
Sure, everybody knows where it's at.
You don't have to tell me it's in Paris.
Yeah.
You don't have to explain the history or what country you're in. Just the moment, the image speaks for itself. So having a unique identity in a Menifee downtown with some placemakers, some maybe some statues,
Sure.
some unique identity. And I'm open and always trying to invite the public to City Hall to share what does Menifee stand for. And that is a challenge. That is a challenge. Like you said, Temecula is known for the wineries.
Mm-hmm.
Old Town, Lake Elsinore is known for their lake. Menifee, we're still a baby, relatively speaking, and we need to establish that unique identity.
Is it hard getting people to show up to these meetings that you're talking about?
It is.
I mean, what's the normal?
It is. You know, usually it's the same 5 to 10 people.
That's it. I imagine like almost like a college, not a stadium, but like a classroom with people almost waiting to get in the door. But it's only like 5 to 10 people.
And you have to go out to the residents, and I try my best to make myself available.
Sure.
Go to any event in the community, not just city sponsored events, but if I hear like the moms of Menifee are having a picnic, I'm going to show up, and that's my opportunity to hear
for sure
what's going on over here. Or just the Little League baseball team is having like a picnic, or they're celebrating the end of the season. Just something where I like doing that because it takes me out of the bubble at City Hall, and it allows me to hear what just everyday residents who are working, who are, just trying to provide for their family, have to take their kids to and from school. Like, what do they think? What do they want? Why should they stay here, and why should they not move to Temecula or Marietta?
Right.
What do they want?
Get ground level and see what people are talking about. Take it to the streets, as the kids say, I guess, right?
Take it to yeah.
A couple questions on off topic from political stuff. What's your Air Force life look like? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I'm in the reserves, and as a reservist, you serve 1 weekend a month. And you do an annual tour every 2 weeks. And recently, I got orders to be activated, and I'll be leaving in October. It's as of now 6 months, and things could change.
That's always subject to change, man. Always subject to change.
They always say, like, hurry up and wait.
Yeah, it's a fact right there, man. That's a fact.
Just be ready and always be ready, and the mission can change, and you just always want to be prepared, and whatever, the president or the Department of War now.
Right. They did change that, didn't they? It sounds more aggressive, doesn't it? Department of Defense, Department of War. Yeah. Kind of like the way it sounds. It's got a ring to it.
I'm here to serve whatever the department wants me to do, and be supportive of their mission. And I just hope I come home safe, and I hope my family's safe when I come back. Of course. And, just God willing, that works out, and everything else doesn't matter. Just our safety, I think, is the biggest thing.
What's your job in the Air Force? What do you do?
I do load planning.
Load planning. What's that look like?
So I help manage and plan any offloading and onloading of the aircraft, all the different kinds of aircraft, passengers, and, supporting air transportation. Okay.
I used to load. I've got a couple trips to Afghanistan, and I used to load at a couple fire bases we were at, load ISUs and Air Force pallets into the back of like C-130s or C-17s.
Yeah,
man,
the pallets. It's
like 19, 20-year-old kid on this big old forklift. You know what I mean? There's a guy over there.
Did you have to do any pushing?
I've done it all, man. Yeah. To be honest with you, I'm not bragging or boasting. I've done a lot in my military. I did 8.5 years. Like I said, 5 trips over Afghanistan. I was in 3rd Special Forces Group. I was attached over there as a mechanic, so I did my whole time in the Army over there. So it was a good time. It's got highs and lows, you know what I mean? Just like with anything else you do.
Right.
It was enjoyable, though.
Thank you for doing your part. Thanks for your service.
Thanks for paying your taxes. That's what I always tell people, man. You know what I mean? Like, thanks for paying your taxes. Yeah. Had a good time, though. Have you been deployed before?
This is my first time.
First time. How's that feel?
I'm very proud to do it. I'm proud to do my part.
Mm-hmm.
You enlist, and you always know, hey, my day might be called. And so I'm ready to do that. Everything's been leading up to this moment.
Sure.
And now I get to implement it, day in and day out. So I'm proud to do my part for my country. That's why I enlisted. And then on the other hand, I'm going to miss home.
Absolutely. I think that's the biggest thing. You end up getting comfortable with it over there, though. You're kind of like, oh, this is a whole different life. It's like a different chapter in life. Yeah. So I think you're going to have a good time. You know where you're going yet? I know you can't talk about stuff before it happens. Loose lips, sink ships.
But, so. You can probably look around and hear things, and that'll give you an idea of of things. Yeah.
What are you doing to prepare to leave? Are you doing like extra PT? Are you going to the range? Anything like that? What does preparation look like for you?
Yeah, like, as you know, when you prepare to get out the door, you do all of those. You have the checklist. You go to CADM. You do your
What is CADM?
Where you go and practice. Shooting.
Okay.
And using the equipment and they give you all the gear, the chemical gear.
Oh yeah.
I have all new uniforms for that specific terrain
of course.
that I'm going to. Just making sure all your financials and names are in order.
And the will and the
automatic payments.
Power of attorney. And yeah, that's true. There's a lot to do before you leave, man.
And then as with the city too, we have a plan in place too to make sure there's continuity of government. The mayor pro tem, every city has a mayor pro tem.
What does that mean?
The mayor pro tem steps in when a mayor is absent.
Okay.
For any ceremonial duties, running the city council meetings, signing off on any documents that need the city clerk gives the mayor tons of documents. Like at the end of a city council meeting, I sign off on pretty much everything we voted on, and so
no auto pen, right?
No auto pen,
okay.
Not in Menifee. Yeah, we don't have any auto pen in Menifee.
that was one of my other questions was got it written down here. So as you prepare for your 6-month deployment, what measures are in place to ensure continuity of leadership and operations? So what does that look like? Do you sign things? I mean, obviously you sign things. That's a stupid question, but how do you hand over that duty? Is it the deputy mayor? What'd you call him?
Yeah, mayor pro tem. So we had a couple city council meetings over the past month where we formalized that, made a resolution, say, hey, for the continuity of government, our mayor pro tem will step in. And then we also have now, what did we call an alternate presiding officer in case the mayor pro tem were to be out. Now, who's his successor? Because now we have to think one step ahead of that.
Of course.
Now, since I'm out as mayor, if he's out, then who steps in? So we have a plan in place should, absences happen. I'm part of, some committees, and I represent the city in several capacities. And so we have a city council member to step in my place for the committees and discuss various topics.
Okay.
About city finance and city parks and all of that stuff. And when I return, the goal when I return.
Yeah, of course, right?
Yeah, but keep staying positive. Things will revert back at the end of that 6 months.
Sure, you take the staff back and you say, "Hey, thanks for your time."
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. How do you select that mayor? How do you say it again?
Mayor pro tem.
Mayor pro tem. Is that selected? Is that elected? Is that someone you choose?
It's
or
elected.
Committee selected?
Yeah, we have the city council usually rotate yearly.
Okay.
For that, and
so almost like being on red cycle or green cycle, stuff like that.
What does that mean?
So like different times of the year, like I know big units like the 82nd, they'll have green cycle, red cycle, and then like a yellow cycle. So there's always one battalion or one brigade that stays ready in case something happens around the world, because anywhere in the world they can be in like 48 hours ready to go do work, right? Mm-hmm. So there's always one brigade that stands on the ready. Like those guys can't go out on the weekends. They can't travel outside of like whatever the radius is.
Yeah.
They're not supposed to drink, stuff like that. So obviously it's not that intense. We're not, it's the mayor tem.
Mayor pro tem.
Pro tem. Yeah. I'm going to get that right. Obviously it's not as intense as that. He's not going into combat, but you said it year by year that
Sometimes
changes.
Sometimes these city council meetings feel like combat.
Hey man, I'm not going to lie. I've seen some videos that make it look a little wild, to be honest with you.
That's the other thing too. We in Menifee have a really respectful city council. And I try to always make sure all the city council members are included. Mm-hmm. That even if we have a disagreement or we don't vote the same, I always tell all of them, if you want to go out to dinner after the city council meeting, let's go out to dinner. Let's go have a beer. Yeah. Let's hang out. And it's just business. You vote how you vote. I vote how I vote. And at the end of the day, we still want our city to be beautiful and successful. And it's nothing personal. It's just business.
And that's what a lot of people don't understand right now is you got the left wing, the right wing, the middle. It's everybody should be working on the same team.
Yeah.
You know, everybody should be looking forward in America. What your beliefs are, what his beliefs are, what her beliefs are. Can't let that kind of stuff divide you and like ruin relationships, because that's a butterfly effect that goes outwards, I think.
Yeah, and then the public sees that, our staff sees that. Hey, look, look how they treat, look how they talk. That how our leaders are going to conduct themselves. So you want to, and the kids. Sometimes we have kids come into our city council meetings. And so in Menifee, I'm very grateful that we have a positive team. Some of the cities and school boards around us, you may have seen, like, some of these topics get very controversial and heated.
Super, man, super.
And, Menifee, so far we've been doing a good job at that. And I'm just very grateful to be around positive people.
I think people should be able to speak their minds and not have to be worried about violence enacted on them. I think freedom of speech is the first one.
Right.
That's the first, that's your first right that you have, so that's super important. The meetings that you have, I know Menifee's a little bit older. They've been growing though, right? Sun City's kind of like an older, age group. How do you can't please everybody, obviously, right? You can't please everybody, but how do you balance what you want to make happen between the older generation and the newer generation? What Generation X, Generation Y, all these different generations. How do you balance that across the sheet?
That's a good question. You can't always make everyone happy, but I think if you always think in terms of we as Americans and not divide us into groups of race or religion or nationalities or even generations, I think if we're always thinking forward and saying, hey, we as Americans, how can we make our country better? How can we make our city better? And keep it like that. I don't like how around the country, you see these even, pro, I'll just say Latino because I'm Latino and I don't want to rub anyone else's. I don't want to call anyone else out,
Sure.
But as a Latino, sometimes people say, I'm conservative, and sometimes they might say, hey, Ricky, you're Latino. Why aren't you, more left? And why do you support, or why aren't you speaking out against this stuff? And I say, look, I'm American first,
That's right.
And I want a safe, beautiful country where we respect each other. And no matter what race or ethnicity you are, we should respect the laws. We should respect each other. We should want safe homes. And, I support our president.
Sure.
I support strong borders, and we should respect the borders, and we should respect the law and order. And, we should be waving an American flag in the streets.
100%,
not
man.
A flag of another country, And,
you can't walk into other countries. Yeah. It's the same thing in other countries. You go to Europe, you need like the passport, you need like the day passport or whatever it is, if you want to ride around on the train going around, I've heard stories. But you have to travel with the proper credentials. So I definitely agree with you on that. That's an important note. Security, there's a lot of people that have come across the border of all over the world. We're not just talking one country or two countries.
Right.
There's been a mass migration to America the past 4 years, 5 years, give or take, and that makes it hard. So I know the police force just stood up not too long ago, right? The Menifee Police?
Oh, yeah. Our Menifee Police started in 5 years ago.
5 years ago. So they're still a baby as well.
Yeah.
I'm sure they stay busy out here.
Yeah. That's another thing we're proud of in Menifee, too. Along with Marietta, we are both cities are in the top 20 safest cities in America, in California.
That's a big feat right there, because California crime, I know that's a big deal.
Yeah. And according to some of our statistics, the police have been reporting some crimes have been going down.
That's good.
We take pride in our police. We always support our police. They're putting their lives out on the line. They deal with things, they deal with some of the ugliest parts of society.
Oh, yeah.
And deal with some deep stuff that, everyday civilians, they're difficult subjects.
100%. Once you've been on the backside of the trigger to defend yourself, it's a whole different story. You can be a sideline, or what do they call it, a Monday morning quarterback, whatever that is, and say maybe he should have handled it differently. But until you're on the receiving end of bullets, it's I hate to say you don't understand, but you don't understand.
Yeah.
You know, I want to go home and see my family.
Right.
I want you to come back and see your family. So it's either me or him, essentially. You know, and if you're going to threaten my life, I think the police have every right to do what they've been doing. I have a couple customers. I have a pool cleaning business.
Right. Yeah.
And I have a few customers, detective, police officer, stuff like that. And I always tell them, I'm like, I would rather go back to Afghanistan than to be a police officer these days, especially with the whole defund the police, that whole thing. I think it got a little crazy, but that is a tough job to have. So my hat's off to all the police department out here. They've been doing a good job.
Yeah, yeah. Marietta and Menifee have been doing a great job, and we hope to just continue that momentum and provide that for our residents, and hope to be an example for Riverside County.
Sounds like we're on the right track, man. We are definitely on the right track out here. What do you? What kind of hobbies do you have? What do you like to do? What do you do for fun?
I love baseball.
Oh, me too. I play baseball on Sundays. Yeah.
What position did you play?
I play first and right field. I don't like right field too much. I like being on first base, though.
Yeah. Being in the infield, you're very active and involved.
Oh, yeah, man.
Padre fan?
I am a Padre fan.
I'm sorry, man. I'm a Dodger fan. But we're both going at it. It's close.
Yeah, it's good. It's been a good season so far. So I love playing baseball, man. I just started playing again last season. Joel behind the camera over here, we're on the same team.
Oh, you are?
So we're on the Badgers. We play here at Heritage.
Oh, Heritage.
Over Heritage High, man.
Oh, Heritage High School?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a nice field, man. It's so fun to play. And then I coach my son's baseball team, head coach for his team, and then he plays flag football right now too. So we're super, super active with the sports. I think you got to keep the kids in sports. I think that's a big
deal. Yeah. Baseball and sports is very important. Menifee is also looking at creating a regional sports park potentially.
Okay.
Because we understand with all the growing families in the region, they need a place to play.
100%.
And when these travel teams and these adult teams come, there's, hey, if they come to your city, they're going to have lunch there, spend money there, they're going to put gas there, and all that goes back into the city.
Yeah. What does a regional sports park look like to you? Baseball diamonds?
Yeah, we would like a lot of multi-purpose fields, like a lot of baseball diamonds,
Pickleball's real big right now. Maybe a pickleball court or two, yeah.
It's a park with a lot of acreage, a lot of space, and, whatever the community envisions, when that time is right, we'll invite them to the workshops and say, hey, what would you like to see in your city's regional sports park? But we know in Menifee that our median age is 36. That means a lot of growing families, a lot of kids, and we need to provide amenities for them.
Where does that look like to you? Is there any potential areas that could go?
So that's part of the study we want to do. Where would that go? And could we ask a developer because housing is very big. Can we ask a developer, hey, can you put an X amount aside towards this account so we can build it? Can you make it part of the housing track when you build it? Can we work out a deal where we allow this, but you bring this for the community? And, any potential investor that wants to make that part of, we have a lot of land, but Menifee is getting to that point where, you hit the plateau, the top of the hill, you hit the end of all the land available. And so we are getting to that point now where a lot of this land is being bought up, a lot of it is being entitled. So before it's too late, let's plan where we can keep some space available for these amenities.
Yeah.
So that's why we're having the conversation now, because I think we're realizing we're bigger than Temecula, we're bigger than Marietta. Now what? Why should we stay here?
Bigger than those two cities by population and by size as well?
So I would have to double check the geographical square mileage. Menifee is about 50 square miles, and I don't have those other cities' square miles
for sure
memorized. Yeah. But we have the residents to support all economic development. We just need to bring the type of economic development.
We've got some customers that have been talking about people coming from up north and moving down south, and I bet this is a hot spot for them.
Yeah, it's more affordable than Orange County and LA County. Speaking of parks too, we have a discussion coming up in a couple weeks at City Hall. It's going to be a hotter discussion.
Okay.
A big visionary discussion. Menifee doesn't own half of its half of its parks.
Like a valley-wide?
Yeah, so with valley-wide, I think it's an important discussion because if you look at the 215 freeway, Menifee owns the parks to the west of the 215.
Okay.
To the east of the 215, there's another agency that manages the parks that even go farther into Riverside County, and it goes into other cities as well, not just Menifee. Valley-wide runs the parks in multiple cities.
Multiple, yes.
Multiple. And on the 22nd of September, we are going to have a meeting at City Hall to talk about a bigger vision for Menifee. Does Menifee look to pursue and annex the parks in Menifee managed by Valleywide? And that will have significant challenges because we're going to ask ourselves, one, can the city of Menifee afford it?
Afford it, sure.
Two, what does that look like for the residents as far as an election? Because it's going to affect property taxes. The residents are going to be asked, do you want your property taxes to be managed now by the city of Menifee, or are you happy with how Valleywide is running your side of the city? And then three, I think, is a very, very important visionary question. Can the city of Menifee give residents a better quality park than what is already provided for them?
That's a good question, too.
You know, and I don't want to throw stones at Valleywide or point too many fingers, but, you know, as mayor of Menifee, I want to give residents the best park that they can get.
Of course.
You know, and those parks are a little bit older. How much money are we going to have to invest to bring it up to the Menifee standard? You know,
and when you say afford, does that mean I'll just automatically raise taxes, or is there things that have maybe outdated over the years that we're still putting money into that we can pull from? I know this is probably a huge question, and finances is
so
multifaceted.
We don't want to raise taxes. The question that side of the Menifee is going to be asked is, do you want your taxes now to be managed by the city of Menifee, or are you happy how your property taxes are managed by Valleywide? And so when people pay their property taxes, it's not just, there are several line items in the property tax that go to different things.
Yeah.
The landscaping in your neighborhood, the school districts in your neighborhood, the parks in your neighborhood. And because the property taxes are going to be transferred to a different agency like the city of Menifee, those residents we're going to have to study it a little bit more.
Yes, of course. That's why I said it's a multi-layered onion, and as soon as you start peeling
there
them back,
might have to be an election for it, and there might not be, but I'll let the city attorneys handle the process of that. But that may be a obstacle, and not all Menifee residents would vote on it. It's
That's
only
true, too.
those property owners would, and so that's going to be a situation that we may have to address, and might be one of the factors in the equation. But, you know, ultimately, the city council, well, I don't want to speak for the entire city council. I, as mayor, you know, want to provide residents with the best quality park, the best maintenance. Can we do it at a better price than what, you know, they're charging?
Mm-hmm.
You know, can we do more with the money? Can we be more, you know, efficient with it? You know, that is something that we're going to have to discuss on the 22nd.
And these are things that you take like bids on, like, hey, we want to turn this area into X, Y, and Z. We are now accepting bids, and then you go through the bids, sort of thing?
Like if we were to choose one park, well, just like any park, let's say we want to upgrade, you know, we need to make the sidewalks handicap compliant or ADA compliant, or, you know, we want to improve this road around the park or so and so. Yeah, we usually go out to bid for competitive bids and see which contractor can provide that service within our budget.
That makes sense. Yeah, because you can't just go all willy-nilly.
Yeah, and we don't want to choose favorites or anything. It's all public information. Hey, these 5 companies submitted a bid based off the interview process, based off of, what the services they said they can provide. Here's all the documentation, and for this amount, this is what the bidder we're going with.
Okay. Another serious question. These are from people that I know and support
Yeah, sure.
The podcast and Biggest Sports. This one's from my son. He's 7.
Okay.
So I restructured it a little bit different. His question was, how fast can you build stuff? Okay. He's 7, so get with that. But I restructured this to, what is your timeline for accelerating the city's development and growth? And what does that look like to you? We kind of answered that a little bit earlier with the city center. I know you said making Menifee more of like a landmark type of thing. Do we look at growing? You said something about annexing. What does that look like? Is there a direction that you go? I know this is all planning and council and stuff like that.
So with the annexing, that would be, part of the parks district, So let me go back to your son's question.
Yeah.
How long does it take to build stuff? Usually several years, depending on the scope and how big you're thinking. Several years to plan, several years to have inspection, to do the inspection check, listen to the community, have workshops, public hearings, and then sometimes the biggest challenge in California is getting through the environmental.
Mm-hmm.
California has a process called CEQA. It's an environmental study. There's a federal one, but California federal environmental checks, but California has extra state environmental checks.
That's what we're known for.
We'll find a way to delay, trust me, and find a reason to add more bureaucracy. So all of these things, and then usually the city council does a 2-year budget. So if it didn't make it in this 2-year process, we're going to have to put the money aside in the next cycle. So sometimes we're like, yeah, we want to do it, but we have to wait 2 years because we already planned these next 2 years.
Do you think we have too many regulations? I mean, obviously we want clean air. Everybody wants clean air, clean water, safe schools. That's a big one. But I mean, how do you bust away some of that red tape and get through?
A lot of it is California adds a lot of stuff, like, with the Palisades fires and everything.
Oh, man.
All of the headaches and how do we build faster and what do we do next time? How do we ensure this doesn't happen again? Well, California just passed these new building ordinances where now the city of Menifee adopted. They pass it. The problem with California is they do a one-size-fits-all umbrella, and all the cities have to comply with it.
Doesn't work like that.
If you don't, we'll take away your funding, your state tax dollars. And so, the situation in Palisades, totally different geographic region, totally different demographic of people.
Yeah.
Those types of houses and that terrain doesn't apply to the city of Menifee.
Not at all.
But we have to adopt now some statewide building ordinances that it's just more regulation. It'll probably make it harder for development to bring it up to code and standards.
The Good Idea Fairy came in and said, hey, this might be a good idea. And then that just makes everything harder, it seems like. Same thing in the military. You got that guy that's always... The Good Idea Fairy is what we called him. And when he started talking, it was like, shut up, just stop, dude. Everything's okay how it is right now, Yeah, that's tough, man, especially when the budget is every 2 years. That seems like a huge red tape that it's like, hey, but we need to get this done sooner. Is there any way to get things done sooner?
Like,
can you put can the mayor sign on something saying, hey, we're going to push forward on this, even though we'll deal with the other stuff later? Is there any hammer you can drop on stuff?
At city council, we are a team, and in order to pass anything, there needs to be 3 out of 5 votes.
3 out of 5, okay.
Yeah. So if 3 out of 5 council members at City Hall say, this is a priority, we want to push this or streamline this, then it can happen.
So those are the folks that are really making the decisions as your city councilman.
Yeah.
So when people say local voting matters more than on a nationwide, your councilman who you select is probably...
It's very intimate. So the mayor is 1 of 5 votes. If I were to push or try to push anything, I need 2 more to side with me.
Okay.
And there have been times where I'm outnumbered 4-1. There have been times I've been on the 3-2. But if you want something passed to push staff and the city and all the directors to do something, you need 3 out of 5 to get the majority and push it through.
Interesting. All within the city. 3 out of 5.
3 out of 5. And that's why it's important for people to show up to City Hall, because when you show up, or when you reach out to me, when you email me, when you call me, when you, say something to me in person, I take mental notes, and I'm always saying, okay, this is the pulse of the community. This is what they want. Let's push this direction. But when people are stagnant, when people are complacent and they don't speak up, okay, then when this happens, you weren't there, you didn't speak up, and the council then goes forward with what they think the pulse of the community is.
Yeah. And then they don't really know. They're going off of hearsay instead of people actually showing up in person and speaking their minds.
Yeah.
Speaking your mind is a very important thing, I think. You got to let people know what it is you're feeling, right?
And that's why I said, too, like, I like to go to the little league parties, or the Moms of Menifee parties, or just like this nonprofit thing, because it takes me out of, like I said at the beginning of the interview, the City Hall bubble, where it's the same 5-10 people showing up. That's not healthy for me as your representative. That's not healthy for the community, because I'm not properly reflecting. So if they're not going to come to City Hall, then I have to do my best to go out to them and stay involved and be in their ear.
Ground level, man. That's super important. Stay connected with people,
And when people show up to City Hall, you're about to go into it a little bit, Rex. It's more intimate, because we can decide, how many police are we going to budget for? Do you want the parks managed by us? Are you happy with the amenities at your parks? Hey, we're getting a lot of complaints about this particular road. Maybe the city council should put more money towards this road, in front of your house that you go to and from work and school.
Drive on every day.
Every day. And, so it's very intimate. If people wanted to be involved, probably being involved in your local government is more important than some of the federal, state level stuff that people in Sacramento or Washington, D.C. aren't available for you to hear you.
Well, it affects you directly.
And this affects you directly.
So I know it's a hot button topic right now, the whole Charlie Kirk thing. I feel like I should bring it up.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
A lot of people don't want to talk about it, or don't want to hear people's opinions.
Yeah.
Freedom of speech, like I mentioned earlier. I was going to segue into it earlier, but
very important.
Super important, man. If you don't have the right to say what you feel and what you think in front of other people without violence being enacted on you, or a life being taken or beaten up or whatever it is, you're not in a free country.
Right.
That's on the road to
North Korea.
Exactly.
And Iran and all of these other countries where you speak up and you're persecuted for speaking up.
Yes.
And that's not healthy. That's not okay.
I agree. I want to be able to come and talk to you. I want to talk to anybody on the street. I think we should have discussions about things with people being able to regulate their emotions. And then, like you said, I'll take you out to dinner afterwards. Let's go have a beer.
Yeah.
It's okay to discuss things. I think what's missing today is people not being able to discuss things and, like I said, regulate their emotions with stuff. Just because this person feels some way about something doesn't mean that affects me. I've heard people say being embarrassed is a choice. Being offended is a choice. You can choose to be offended and take it to the next level, or you can sit here and listen to somebody talk, and then if they have any sense of mind, then they'll be quiet and listen to you talk. So proper discussion forums. So I just wanted to see what your opinion was on that whole thing.
I think it's not healthy how polarized and divisive the country is being. I think whatever side you are on, you should be able to speak freely and not have violence inflicted upon you. Our country is founded off of, like our founding fathers they wanted to speak up against a tyrannical, oppressive government who who didn't give them the liberties. And it's important to be able to speak up and have that forum. And right now the country is so divided. It's not healthy. But my thoughts and prayers go to Charlie Kirk's family, his wife. He had a couple kids.
Yes.
And I sympathize for his wife, who Charlie Kirk was a great guy because he was able to eloquently share with his thoughts with evidence and reason, and he didn't do it in a way that was offensive, in my opinion.
I agree. Totally
Maybe some
agree.
other people thought he was offensive, but
right.
You know what? He had the freedom of speech.
Sure.
And he had evidence and reasons to back it up, and that's all you can do. You have evidence and reasons, and you provide your case. And he didn't have violence. He never inflicted violence on anyone.
Never. Ever, man. He made good points. I don't think he ever offended people. I mean, on purpose. He might say some things that people don't agree with, but again, back to the being offended is a choice. Mm-hmm. You choose to be offended. Mm-hmm. You choose embarrassment. I mean, obviously, if you're walking down somewhere and your pants come off, you know what I mean. It's going to be one thing, but I feel for that guy and his family.
Yeah, he his cause was to also spread awareness to the younger generations, and that's why he would go to college campuses and try to get the younger generations involved and say, hey, this is your country, you're the future, these are important topics, how are you going to be our future leaders? Mm-hmm. And he brought a healthy discussion to the table for the whole country.
Yeah, I like that you said Menifee's in the top 15 for lowest crime in California, because that's a really big one. There was the lady that just got stabbed in the neck in Charlotte on the train or the bus. It was, and it's everywhere you turn. I'm actually going through class on Monday and Tuesday to get my CCW, my concealed carry weapon permit. And I don't, you shouldn't be able to walk. You shouldn't have to walk around and feel like you need to look over your shoulder constantly.
Right.
This is America. And I think everybody, I don't care what your race, your creed, what you believe in, everybody should feel safe around here. And that's super important for everybody, I think, to thrive.
Yeah. We all want the same things, I think. We all want, a healthy, safe lifestyle, where we're able to be ourselves.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't have to feel like we can't be ourselves or share our thoughts and have to look over your shoulder for that.
Right. It's sad, man. Sad deal. We got one more serious question for you from another supporter. This one's with the affordable housing, because we all know house prices are through the roof right now. Everywhere you go, everything's 30, 40, 50% higher than we're used to, at least our generation. So the question is, why is affordable housing in Menifee primarily limited to senior citizens? I know Sun City mostly is like retirement community, and the house prices are like almost half of what you would see in like another community that's not senior citizens. And what like barriers exist to expanding that for all age groups?
Yeah, so the biggest barrier, and I think so the city doesn't build housing.
Correct.
Okay. The private enterprise builds houses, the KB Homes, the DR Hortons, all of them, they build the housing. Now, one of the challenges out there, especially in California, is as a country as a whole, with the cost of everything, the cost of materials, the cost of labor. You're a business owner yourself, very easily things start racking up just to operate
quickly.
And when you have all of these government regulations, environmental hurdles, it adds fees and it adds delays in construction costs, and time is money. And with all these things going on, it makes it difficult for a lot of these home builders to make affordable, quote unquote, affordable housing, because by the time things are done, they may not be able to provide for their own families. So that's one hurdle. Another hurdle is, I think, in California, the state sends the city all of these new regulations. So even if we wanted to be lenient or be accommodating for this stuff, the umbrella one size fits all thing makes all of the cities in California follow these codes and regulations.
So you can't go up there and go talk to Governor Newsom and say, hey, we need to make some changes down here. Obviously, you said the builders. I mean, even something as like minimum wage plays a part in that.
Yeah. And we at City Council, we see sometimes, these developments come in where it's condominiums or maybe townhouses, and we're like, okay, like this could be a good project for the city because it adds diversity. It's not like this big single family residence with a lot of square footage. Like maybe affordable housing for someone who just wants to get their foot in the door is the condominium or the townhouse, and we need to have that diverse portfolio. The 1 bedroom, the 2 bedroom, 1 bathroom. Okay, that will help, but even still, we're seeing with the labor costs and the construction costs, a condominium in some places, you're still looking at $500,000, 600,000. And that's because the cost of doing business in our state has made it that way.
Yeah. Taxes are really high out here. I know fuel prices are high. I mean, even when it goes down below, when it reaches close to $4, we're like, oh, gas is cheap right now. We're like, man, we're doing good.
Yeah.
You think back about a couple years and you're like, hold on, I'm still paying like $90 to fill up my Tacoma. Like, okay, well, could be worse.
Well, when I see the gas prices at like $4.05, I'm like, I better hurry up now before like this is a good deal.
Same way, man.
And that's sad that society has trained our brains and made the $4 okay in a way. It's like we're used to it now. That's what it is. But I mean, I know the state, every year it seems like the gas tax goes up 1 or 2 cents.
Yes.
But it's normal now.
Exactly.
And they keep piling it on. And I know some of our assembly members have tried to bring forward a bill where we suspend the California gas tax.
Yeah.
And we can get it down, like, a significant portion, but the legislators' makeup up there is a little bit more democratic, and
it
seems like the right side wants to suspend the gas tax for a little bit, but they don't have the votes. They're outnumbered.
That's a big issue right now. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I know they're trying to like redraw some areas, or their constituents are kind of moving, and there's some things going on right now. I don't understand it, so I'm not going to speak on it. Maybe you understand that a little bit better.
Yeah. So I think it's the Prop 50. I think what it's called. It's going to be a special election this November where they're going to or they're going to ask the voters if they are okay with redrawing of the congressman's district and how that's going to affect Washington, D.C.
Well, you talk about voters. So I think almost half of California is Republican. I think it's like 40% when we looked at the heat map during the election?
Yeah, I would have to double check. I don't have the perfect percentage memorized.
I think we're close on that, though. I think it's almost like 60-40 when you look at the maps, but representation is not there. Mm-hmm. So you have, let's just call it 60-40, 60 Democrat, 40 Republican, right? We don't have enough seats in like the California House, I'm probably butchering that, to represent the 40% of Californians that are Republican.
Yeah.
So I think, is that why they're working on redrawing the maps?
Well, this has to do with the congressional federal seats. The state assembly and the state senate are different districts.
Different things. Okay.
Yeah. And I know our California state senators and our California state assemblymen, they are outnumbered.
Big time.
They're more Democratic than Republican.
How would you ever get anything through if it's not fair representation?
It's hard. It's hard. Yeah. It's the way voter turnout is and the way the maps are, it favors the Democratic Party more than it does the Republican Party right now.
Yeah. So on a lighter note, what do you like you said, hobbies? I want people to get to know more about you. I want to get to know more about you. Other than sports, do you hit the gym? Do you work out? What's your...
Yeah, I always try to stay active. That's an important part. Making sure my family is taken care of. Going on trips. I think it's healthy also to, even though I'm the mayor of Menifee, I'll go to San Diego. I'll look at flights where, I can see how other cities plan, but just get away and decompress.
You have to.
Because it's a lot. Everywhere I go, there's always like, hey mayor, like what's the city doing about this street, or when is the city going to get this in, and so and sometimes I just want to talk about like how the Dodgers are doing, or
sure,
like did I catch up on like Breaking Bad, or did you see the new season of Yellowstone, or simple everyday stuff like that.
That's fair.
It's refreshing when people want to talk about that stuff. And,
I think it's nice knowing that you're a dude just like, you're just a person just like everybody else.
Yeah.
I said earlier, I was almost nervous going into this, and then someone told me, you got socks, you got holes in your socks just like everybody else, Yeah. So it's comforting knowing that our elected officials are people. I think a lot of us fail to realize that's just a person.
Right. Right. And I think if you go up to other elected officials too, who are even a higher level than me, they'd appreciate too, just if you bring up something that has nothing to do with their job, it kind of lets their guard down a little bit. Like, hey, like this is a normal person just like me. They have to go home to their wives. They have to wash the dishes. They have to take the trash can out for their wives too.
Okay.
Make sure it gets picked up. Unless they're really, really wealthy, we're all in the same boat, trying to do the best we can.
That makes sense. That's very comforting. So you have we'll probably try to wrap this up. I know you're busy and we got to get out of here. With the meeting coming up, I know you sent me a link on that one. What was that one?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So this coming Monday, the city, our military advisory committee is gonna review a property tax rebate for disabled veterans.
Okay.
Yeah, and I sent that. That was my initiative. I wanted the city to have that discussion. Because you talked about the price of housing, the cost of living. If there are state rebates for disabled veterans and veterans, but it's not a lot.
Yeah.
And I was saying if the city were to do its part, and what would that look like? And I don't want to push something where we can't afford it, or the city goes in debt or anything, but I at least wanted to have the discussion where, we have homeless veterans, we have the cost of housing going up, property taxes, just the cost of living in California is very difficult. So what can Menifee do for its residents? And I was looking at the staff report, and if the city were to give back a couple $100s to each disabled veteran, it would cost roughly around $500,000 out of the city's budget.
Okay.
And
is that a drop in the bucket?
Well, our budget, our general fund is around $100 million.
Okay.
This year is tight because a lot of cities are running deficits. Menifee's lucky we're breaking even.
Yeah. I mean, California's in a deficit when we were just in a surplus.
Deficit. I saw it was like a $250 million, deficit. I at least wanted to bring the discussion forward, say, hey, what can the city do to help its veterans? What can the city do to provide affordable living for our veterans? And we'll see how it goes, and I'm open to exploring the discussion more. I briefly glanced at the staff report to see what it would cost. But, it's a discussion we as a city should have, we as a city council should have, and see, is this the right time in 2025? Or maybe when the economic outlook gets better, maybe we can revisit this in a couple years, because I told you we do our budget every 2 years.
Sure.
So I think it's a healthy discussion we have on how we can provide for our residents, how we can provide for our veterans.
Cool stuff, man. I appreciate your time. Where can people get a hold of you at?
Yeah, so you can email me restrada@cityofmenifee.us, and I check my emails. I'm constantly trying to make myself available, answer questions, and I'm not a technical expert in a lot of different things, but we have a great city staff where I can ask our city planner, our city engineers, our city finance team, hey, can you help provide me clarification for this resident? So I will try to guide all the residents in the right direction.
And you're also on Instagram at?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, mayor.estrada, and then I have a Facebook as well, Mayor Ricky Estrada, and I try to check my social media here and there. That's not like the official way to get a hold of me.
It's the down-to-earth thing, right?
But it's the down-to-earth thing.
Instagram. So.
Yeah, and I try to make myself available as the best I can in as many fashions as I can.
Well, Ricky, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for coming by.
Thank you, Rex.
I would like to talk to you again after you come back from your deployment, if you'll have me.
Let's do it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Rex. I appreciate it. Thank you.